Pow, just like that, we're live, Dana.
We're live.
How's everybody doing? Type in the chat. Let us know you can hear us. Let us know where you are from.
Yes, where are you tuning in from?
I see we've got Rob Alley here, Paul Welsman, Jim Carnes, Steve Robinson. Rich is here. Can they hear us? Nobody typed that they could hear us.
Can anyone hear? Are we live? We have people accusing each other of being AI in the chat. That's what's happening right now. So you never know these days.
Oh, I got you. Okay, we've got confirmation. We are
Okay.
here. We have one publisher in the house in the green room, and we're waiting on Michael August. He is MIA, but he did text and say he was going to be here, so we're excited. The way this works, if you've never been to one of these events, we're going to play a verse and a chorus of each song. Publisher's going to give their feedback on this, and they're going to give feedback just as if they were listening to a song that one of their writers were turning in. And the goal is to make you better songwriters and to give you a little bit more insight into what publishers are looking for. So I'm going to let them do most of the talking this evening, and because you guys get to hear me critique songs quite a bit. Hey, Alicia Frank's in the house. All right. Dana, do you have any words of wisdom before we start?
Just make sure you have your volume up because these songs are really good.
Turn them up.
Turn it up.
We're basically killing time till Michael gets here. I tell you what, we'll start without Michael, and as soon as he gets here, we will bring him up on stage. But let's bring Jenny up first. Voila!
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Whoa.
Haven't
Jenny is an ex plugger of mine. She's not an ex plugger, but she used to plug my songs. She really knows her stuff when it comes to songs. So you guys are in for a treat. All right, Dana, crank it up.
All right. So first up, let's get the first song we have is called "What Would Miranda Do" by Rita Wales and Linda Moro. Let's mess up her last name. Morosiak? I don't know. Anyway, enjoy.
Mama bought me a wedding gown. Took her a year to pay it down. Friends raised a glass, wished us the best.
What was that?
Too long I burned that dress, 'cause girls like me don't suffer fools. Now I wonder, what would Miranda do? Think she'd throw his clothes on a bonfire, red hot justice for a white hot liar. Roll that F-150 right off the cliff, pour his whiskey down the kitchen sink, drive over to that girl's trailer park, smash his guitar on her beater car. Yeah, I think that's what Miranda do.
So that was fun. It's definitely got that feisty, like fiery female energy. And tell me if I'm giving too much or too little. But I like the kind of paying homage to Miranda, and it's kind of like, what would Jesus, what would Johnny, what would, who fill in the blank do? So that's cool. I think I just at this moment have a hard time kind of picturing an artist female in this particular type of song. These can be a little bit specific and niche of an idea. So it would really, really have to be, the right young female artist that would want to do this, that would make sense with it being Miranda. I think sometimes when you pay respects to an artist, generally it's a much older artist, like, an Alan Jackson or a George or, and something like that. So it's a cool idea. I just don't know that it's something I'm looking for at this moment.
All right. One thing I would say, Rita and Linda, from a songwriting standpoint, I wish that your setup line at the end of the chorus was something other than just another item, smash his guitar on her, beat her car,
Mhm.
because it's not really giving as much impact to that title. Yeah, I think that's what Miranda would do. I would rather hear a line that was not just another list item, that really
Mhm.
like said something more, that dug a little deeper. And I think that if you tweak that line, it would have more punch and power to it.
Mhm.
It's almost like, Jenny, that it would have to be some extreme. Remember when Taylor first did Tim McGraw?
Mhm.
It seems
Yeah,
like it would have to be like a young artist, because a
very young. Yeah.
contemporary is not going to sing a song about Miranda,
Sure, sure. Someone
probably.
in her
So
age bracket wouldn't work, but a
yeah,
very young, up and coming female, that maybe hasn't even broke yet would have to kind of be that age bracket. I feel like to pull this off.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah. But it's cool. Yeah, I love Miranda.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have Never Been This High by Sham Sundra.
I live my life misguided. I couldn't get enough speed. Always up again, down again. And when we first collided, I couldn't walk away clean. Though I tried again and tried again. These days everything's always moving so fast, and nothing's ever made to long last. Oh, oh. We don't have to let this moment blow past. Don't need anything more than what we have. Oh, oh. I feel two worlds colliding, the emptiness subsiding. I've never been, I've never been, ain't never been, ain't never been this high. I feel my cage is breaking, I feel your love is overtaking. I've never been, I've never been, ain't never been, ain't never been this high. I've always been short-sighted, always looking to be.
All right. So my initial take is, like, first off, the melody. It's a cool melody. It's kind of got a very nostalgic 90s almost feel to me anyways, which isn't a bad thing. It doesn't necessarily strike me as contemporary country, which doesn't always have a perfect box. I mean, that can look different in a lot
This
of
may
ways.
not be this may not be a country attempt anyway,
Okay.
because I know
Okay.
we have members from all over. So
Got it. Okay, good to know. So with that, yeah, I love the melody. It's very nostalgic. For the lyrics, I still can't tell, because when we listen in real time, we don't always have a lyric, and neither do A&R always. So just going off hearing it in the moment, I don't really know what the feel is supposed to be. Is this a positive? Is this a negative? Because it kind of feels a little bit like a downer, live my life misguided. When we first collided, I couldn't walk away clean. So it's like I can't tell if this is a positive or negative. And even by the time the chorus happens, with the worlds colliding, the emptiness subsiding, I mean, it seems like it's headed in a more positive lyrical path, but I think it's kind of like one of those up downers where the melody still feels kind of sad and a little like temperamental, where the lyric is a little questionable. So I think maybe just some clarity before you get to the chorus, because the pre-chorus was also a bit lengthy for me, but just a little bit more clarity without so much vagueness and ambiguity with these big metaphors like the world's colliding and all these things. I would try to give it some tangible description, if that makes any sense.
yeah, Sham also, or Sham, I think one thing with the melody, that you fell into a pattern that I think made it feel longer. And
Mhm.
that is, there's 2 lines, and then you go up again, down again, 2 lines, try it again, try it again. Then you have 2 lines, oh, 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 2 lines, oh, 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 oh. Then your chorus is
Mhm.
2 lines, I've never been, I've never been.
Mhm.
2 lines, like it's this constant, every section you sing 2 lines, and then you just kind of do a repeated couple of words. And so you fell into a pattern that you're just doing for the entire song, and then that gets old after a while. So
Mhm.
always try to break up and give more contrast between your sections with the
Mhm.
way those lines. So maybe in the chorus, instead of doing that same pattern again, maybe you have a different pattern where you're doing 3 lines and 3 lines, and not this
Mhm.
two with a little, repeated kind of vibe going on. But there's a lot of nice stuff. I also thought the chorus could have lifted a lot more.
Mhm.
Just that, because it was more in the range of the verse. And I think that would have really like given you some dramatic. So if you wanted to pitch this to like sync or something, I think you need that big dramatic moment
Mhm.
um, up in the range of a fiddle, like just something that's more. I mean, this is a big thing. Two worlds are colliding.
Mhm.
Let's make it a big to do in that chorus, and I think
Mhm.
that'll help it a lot.
Yep. Contrast is key.
Totally. Yeah, we have a comment here. Wonder if this is a good sync song. I know, Clay, you mentioned that. Perhaps it is. Or what are your thoughts on that?
It would need more dynamics, and especially for sync, they want to
Mhm.
have the small sections and the large
Mhm.
sections.
Mhm.
Think of it like Imagine Dragons or something. If you had that kind of dynamic range to
Mhm.
it, then I could see maybe going more in that kind of direction.
Totally. Awesome. Next up, we have Blue Bahama Eyes by Frank Snelson.
There's a palm tree shaded hammock and a cold one I can't reach, from the blanket near the shoreline out on Lost Bikini Beach. And there's nothing in between us but your eyes of gold tan. Yeah, I found all that I desire on the treasure case sand. I see the shimmer on the water from the burning summer skies, like the heat there is between us when I look into those blue Bahama eyes. Take me down, I'm island bound, when I'm sailing on those blue Bahama eyes. Yeah. Those oceans.
All right. Welcome, Michael August.
Thank you. So sorry I'm late, folks. Had a little kiddo emergency.
Aw.
Oh,
Yeah, we're good. We're good to go. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Do you want to alternate, Mike, like with the feedback, like you, me, and then Clay? Like, is that cool with
yeah.
everybody?
That'd be
Give
great.
Michael a second to
Okay.
get
To get in.
acclimated. and
Okay,
then-
yeah, I'll start
Yeah.
and then he can jump in the next one. So I like this. It has a really good time, positive vibe, which we all say in pitching is so essential. You know, they always are telling us up tempos, up tempos, up tempos. So this is, that's a positive for sure. I love the description. There's lots of imagery. Even in going into the chorus, it had a good lift. It wasn't dramatic, but it was subtle enough that it still was noticeable. But yeah, I think the only downside I would say with these kind of songs is that there are lots and lots and lots of the beachy kind of fun bikini palm tree, like kind of like your standard beach checklist item song. But it is different. I haven't heard the spin on this kind of hook with like the blue Bahama eyes. I'm sailing on those blue Bahama eyes. So that's that's pretty cool. I don't know that it would stand out immediately as like oh, this would be great for this artist. It kind of, like I said, these songs can almost kind of fall into a little bit of a cliche or generic group category, but I thought you did really well with the imagery in general and just the overall melody and up tempo and positivity. So this is a fun one for me.
Yeah, for me, just coming into it kind of a little bit late here, kind of catching up on the lyric. Totally agree with Jenny about the great imagery right off the bat. I love, kind of a heavy imagery song. I think it's obviously helps. And I also want to commend Frank. It looks like, are you the solo? I think Frank's the solo writer on that. So I love hearing a solo song too. Great melodies. But yeah, I think for me, it does fall the same way, falls into that kind of category of these types of songs are a little harder to get cut anyway, because it has to fit a certain artist brand. And, besides Chesney and Jake Owen and maybe a few others, there's not too many outlets for this right off the top of my head. So I think that's the reason I would pass on this one, but I think there's a lot to love about it.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Clay, any thoughts?
I was listening to podcasts today, and Luke Laird was talking about how he really didn't have success until he had songs that were different. Songs of his like American Kids didn't sound like anything else when it came out. And so I think it's extremely important. I know from my experience with my first big song, it didn't sound like anything else that was out at the time. I think you really have to start trying to separate yourself. Frank, I can tell you have it down. You've got the imagery, your skills are down as far as writing something in the ballpark of the genre. Now I would really try to figure out how can you stand out and write something that's different than everything else, but still works on this platform.
Awesome. It's hard to get that balance for sure. All right. Next up, we have Work by Elmer Napel and Frankie Jean.
All I ever do is just work. When all I really want is to be in your arms. Work like I'm married to my job, kind of work. Like I'm cheating on the only thing I love. It hurts. So I'm gonna force that clock and burn up those tires. Bring it on home and set you on fire. I've been gone for way too long. I can make all the money in this big old world, but money means nothing when you're lonely, girl. Yeah, I know what this love is worth, and you come first. I wanna make this work.
Nice. I guess, yeah, Jenny, we could, alternate here. I'll jump off. So great job. Is Elmer and Frankie here? Or we don't know.
We'll find out.
Okay, yeah.
Undetermined.
So, well, great
be
job. I just
determined.
wanted to say a really good job on just the use of the title. I think using that title and dropping the hook as many times as possible is always phenomenal, especially in country songs. And I always hear the radio loves hearing the hook. So great job on that. And I love the way you got it to pay off at the end. I think maybe a few things for me. I think just little things like I love the intro, but it felt just long. I think we can get for a pitch standpoint. I think we can get to it a lot quicker. One of the things that stood out to me was the second line. When all I really want to do is be in your arms, work. I kind of was like, that one felt a little just kind of thrown in there. But the other, there's a lot to really dig about this. A positive message, love the message. Just, I think it's almost there. It's close for me, but not totally there.
Yeah, I would second a lot of that. You know, I have to write my notes down when I go through things, but like the first thing I wrote was like intro took a while. So, you know, if it's an album, you know, and master recording, you know, artists can do what they want when they're playing with the time and, you know, and make a song 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. So, but when we're pitching, you know, trying to stay around that golden mark of 3:30 is really key. So I think we could have slimmed that down. Not a deal breaker, but just something to keep in mind. And then I feel like for me, it just seemed a little disconnected. You know, work seems all I ever do is just work. And then the next line, like Michael said, well, all I really want to do is be in your arms, work. So we're already at 3 works by the second line. Then work, like I'm married to my job kind of works. And then we're at 5. So I get like, I like that you're utilizing the title and the hook a lot, but I just don't see the connection and the translation between each line to the next. Cause then it jumps to kind of like a dramatic, like negative, like I'm cheating on the only thing I love and it hurts. So to me, I'm like, okay, what's the parallel? Are you feeling like you're cheating because you're working a job? That's like, I just don't know that that's a message that would be resonated with or connected with from an artist, because everybody has jobs, right? And we all work and we all miss the ones that we love when we're working. But it just kind of, I feel like I just couldn't keep up with like the actual theme. You know, I love the production. It felt very fresh. And by the time I got to the chorus, it had that good contemporary country, you know, up tempo feel. But again, by the time it got to the end, and I know what this love is work and you come first and I want to make this work, implies that there's trouble in the water, right? So, you know, he wants to make this work. Well, is it not? And is it because of his job? It kind of, I think just the overall theme maybe isn't quite resonating just yet. And so like Michael said, it's close. I think it could be there, but it needs some tweaking a little bit, but that's
Jenny, that's a great, if you don't mind, I want to jump on that too, because you just gave me a thought as you were talking, Jenny, is that like, I think this song could actually be a little bit more lighthearted than it comes across. Like the idea of like, you know, I could be punching the clock, putting in hours at my job, blah, 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 all that stuff, but I'd rather be working on loving you kind of thought, like where it spins it positive a little bit more. Just food for thought, but yeah,
great thought.
My takeaway is publishers always want positive.
So far, that's true tonight.
Whenever possible.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that second line kind of threw a wrench. It's almost like it would have been better if you really didn't know who he was talking to until you hit that chorus.
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, so you're like, well, what's he cheating on? And I want to be there with you. And then when he said he was away for way too long, I'm like, okay, he just left this morning to go to work. So I just think that line came across a little like it could have been a little more real. I loved the, you know, burn up those tires and bring it home and set you on fire. That gave me chills.
Yeah.
But then that next part of it, it just seemed a little cheesy to me. So I thought but I like the idea of brightening it up a little bit because, you know, I want to make you my work kind of thing.
Yeah. That's cool.
Some of that second verse stuff could still work too. Like the PTO vacation thing, that could be positive.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That
working
does,
on a tan,
that
working
does,
on a buzz. That's great. I love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mostly that first verse could be tweaked, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we have Drinking Games by Karen Kiley, Roberta Smithline, and Matt Rogers.
Cabernet on your lips is all it takes to backslide, slip you to slipping off that black lace dress. Lynchburg in a midnight glass, lonely arms, and I'm on track to dancing round to your heartbreak roulette. It ain't what we need, but it's what we want. You look at me, and all bets are off. It's an all-in, no-win, last call invitation to a no-chance romance card that we keep playing. Girl, we're bad at love, we're bad at us, and we'll go up in flames. But damn, we're good at playing drinking games. Pour it on, pour it strong. We're both losing just the same. Close your eyes, roll the dice. Yeah, we're good at drinking games.
It's so good.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. I feel like I really like it. My initial reaction, I think this was really cool. The idea, the melody, even like the shift in the melody within the chorus is really cool. That internal shift where damn, we're good at playing drinking games. Some people could have ended it right there, but you kept going, which gave it like a next level within the chorus, you know, pour it on, pour it strong. We're both, you know, it just gave it that extra little layer that I think was really cool and took it to the next level. And I mean, even from the first verse, the Cabernet, the black lace dress, great imagery, Lynchburg in a midnight glass, like that's so cool. I love that. You know, visuals are everything. If you can put the listener in the scene and like be able to visualize it and picture it versus, you know, show without tell, I think that's a huge advantage. So, you know, it's a really cool idea. I love the drinking games. It's an all-in, no-win, last call invitation. You know, it's like a very cool kind of metaphor analogy sort of that you kept consistent all the way through. You set it up very nice in the verse to where the chorus really captured, you know, the hook. So I think it was all in all a really cool song.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. Like some killer melodies. Love the demo too. Love the singer.
Yeah.
Just sells it.
That's Matt, of course. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, gotta be, right? Freaking sounds so good. And I like the hook too. I mean, it's really cool. It feels real. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is one I'd actually like to like take a second listen to.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Karen, has Matt's publisher pitched this at all? I know she's on the chat, so maybe she'll answer back. But yeah, that really fresh, twisting melodies that keep your attention all the way through from the first line of the verse all the way through the post-chorus. Really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That melody on Bad at Love, Bad at Us blew my mind.
Yeah.
It
Karen
kind of
says
has
that.
a confusing feel, like Sergeant Jump, like this kind of like, I don't know, back and forth, like Lover's Game. Like, what's the Chris Stapleton song? It's like, You Should Probably Leave.
You should probably leave, yeah.
It's like, it kind of has a little bit of that vibe.
Cool.
Awesome. And Karen says Rana has, but she's still pitching it herself as well.
Cool.
All right. Next up, we have Blue Collar by Brian Whalen.
Picking stones at Grandpa Joe's, we worked till the sun went red. My daddy brought me down there when I was 13 to get the steam out of my head. Old Grandpa Joe was hard, you know, for the war took a lot of flack. So how the hell could I complain about a pain in my back? He said, hard work will make you want this, boy, you better sweat right through that shirt. The devil makes work for idle hands, you better get those hands to work. There ain't no rest for the wicked, got to keep the wicked down on its knees. Gotta work hard for a little money, cause it ain't gonna grow on trees. Whoa, if you're blue collar, let's hear you holler now. Whoa, blue collar proud. Those days were tough, but sure enough, I use a lot of water.
Nice. Okay, so what I'm thinking is, as I'm listening to this, looking at the title again, I like really appreciate the solo write too, because I know it's like it's one of those things you really get to hear what the writer has to say.
Mhm.
And I'm totally like, I was buying in, following the story, and I was get the idea of blue collar, but I'm wondering if it's not paying off as much as I want it to. That being said, I love just the energy of that chorus. Just great, like grit and like, just so kind of like now as far as Oliver Anthony and that kind of vibe that's happening on and blowing up, around the country. But I think storyline wise, it wasn't hitting me. It wasn't paying off as much as I wanted to.
Yeah, I would second that. I feel like the vibe has this like grit to it, almost kind of like a culture wall, or something very like edgy, almost like Americana, just this cool like roughness, which I love. I think those kind of soundtracks could be really, really cool for sync too. But lyrically, I wasn't as convinced. I did feel like too, like the blue collar felt a little bit out of the blue, no pun intended. But it just, I mean, I think it's a cool idea, and the message again, like, kind of in the vein of like, oh my gosh, Tyler Childers or something. But I just think lyrically, it just needs to stand up and level up a little bit more, to where it doesn't feel like the hook is kind of just out of nowhere. I mean, it does paint a picture of the blue collar, Grandpa Joe's, and just fought a war and hard work will make an honest boy. But I think it's missing that really cool, either relatable element that's like, okay, yeah, like we can relate to that, or that compelling factor for me that's like, oh, that like gives me shit, like that's badass. Like, and with a melody and with a production like this, it needs to almost be badass lyric, and it's not quite, given that equal measure to the melody and production. But yeah, it's still a cool feel.
Go ahead.
All right.
Oh, Mark Lambert said a better title would be Sweat. That certainly pays off. It doesn't come out of nowhere, kind of like the blue collar does. But
It's a great thought.
And Cameron says, I wanted to hear "Let's Hear You Holler" again. That hook was kind of my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's almost like a chanty section in its own.
Mm-hmm.
The repeating that line, if you're blue collar, let's hear you holler.
Mm-hmm.
Which then, that's a great point. Like, I think maybe that's the thing, is that I think maybe the chanty thing, it's almost like the story is like about this kid and Grandpa Joe and Daddy brought me. But I wonder if it's more inclusive of like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we roll kind of thought, not afraid to get our hands dirty, more of like, this is where we come from type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're blue collar, let's hear you holler. That might end up paying off more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And I feel like, and with Brandman's, obviously they would have to restructure the song, and you'd have to tweak some lines to make it all cohesive and rhyming, but that's part of kind of chipping away at it and digging in a little bit more to, just responding to that comment. All right.
I turned our love inside out so I could see underneath your storm raging over me, clouding my vision in ways I couldn't see, the negativity. Gave me all your pain, expecting me to stay. You couldn't take the blame. There's a price to pay. I don't want you, I don't need you, or your torrential rain. Now that it's over, oh it's over. Never wanna see you, never wanna see you again.
Cool. Yeah, I love that chorus melody. That's really nice. It's giving me like, it's got like a throwback vibe to it for sure. I mean, off the top of my head, feels a little bit Fleetwood Mac in a way. So which again, through the sync lens, that's kind of cool because they get asked for that stuff actually a good bit. Looking at it from maybe more of a country commercial pitch standpoint, I wonder that it feels a little bit like, what's the word, verbose, a little bit like torrential rain is a tough hook because torrential is like, we all know what that means, but I don't know if it sings as great as it could. And then other than that, it just feels like, I think it feels a little too throwback for a current artist pitch right now. I think that's my 2 cents right now.
Jenny, I think you're muted.
I just said I would agree. I really hadn't said much, so that was good. I feel like the energy was there and totally agree. Sync, possibly. Radio, probably not. It's got a little bit of that dated feel to it. And to add to what Michael was saying, like torrential rain doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, right? It's not like something like a very sing-along type of hook or idea. It's just a little wordy in that section. And I like when there's consistency in a theme, but it almost sometimes can be overdone when it's too like metaphoric and where everything is is a metaphor almost. I could see underneath your storm, raging over, clouding my vision. I like some of that because it is consistent, but then I think it doesn't really sell me by the time it gets to the chorus, and especially the hook. And then it feels like it ends a little abruptly too, with like, now that it's over, oh, it's over, I never want to see you again, never want to see you again. I just felt like it kind of lost some emphasis in that. But yeah, so I, like you said, through the sync lens, I think possibly for where we are in our market with needing that fresh, it can be out of the box, but it still needs to have some modern elements to it. And I don't know that this quite had that, but yeah.
We had one comment from Chad who said Hurricane Rain might be a better singing title, and you have the inner rhyme with that. Lisa Jean, one thing I was going to say, that songs today, okay, so you have 8 lines in that, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 lines in that first verse, and you end it in ways I couldn't see the negativity. And then there's like pause, like this long pause before you get to the pre-chorus. That's one thing that makes it sound a little dated. And what you've done is you've just resolved musically there And now I'm tuning out and I'm looking around saying, there's nothing happening. So really you could cut out the negativity part of that line and just go right into that pre-chorus and not have that big pause there. And I think that would serve you better to keep people's attention, because you've just put a period in the middle of your verse with that long pause, and the way you just resolved it musically, you resolve it on the negativity, and it's hard to pull that off these days. Songs used to do that a lot 20 years ago, but these days that you want to pull the listener forward and keep them listening.
Yep. Great.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have Young Hearts by Rudy Stoas and Stephanie Stoas.
They all wanna grow up, boys wanna get tough, girls wanna fall in love. It's the only thing that matters to the young hearts. They all want a head start, like wheels on a fast car. But can we just slow down right now? Right now she might be daddy's little girl, but you learn to fly and take on the whole world. One day it'll be the last time that you reach out for your hand. Save the drama for her mama saying you don't understand. So just cherish every moment, pull her in a little closer, and the memories made will never be too far. You see the young hearts.
All right. Is it me? So I think this has the idea is there. I really like Young Hearts. I love that title. I love the hook. Kind of almost reminds me a little bit, now that I say it, like, did Keith Urban have something like, here's to the wild hearts, just like that? Yeah. So, okay, kind of has a little similar just with the hook maybe. But so I felt like the whole first verse, I'm like, who is they? Who is they? Who is they? Who is the intended audience? Pre-chorus, it's a dad to daughter song, which is great, but it needs clarity sooner. I felt like, I love a good daddy-daughter song. One of my favorite songs growing up was, Butterfly Kisses, which is ancient. But I just think there could have been that emotional factor much, much sooner, because until then, it's really vague as to who is they. I just thought it was to maybe like generations. Every kid just wants to grow up. But I think just clarifying that sooner could really, really help pull this along. But otherwise, I mean, I like I said, I think the bones are there. It just needs to be tweaked a little bit lyrically. Melody felt good. See, looking at the chorus again. The last time she reached out your hands. Save the drama for her mama, saying you don't understand. I don't know that I understand that line necessarily. So just cherish every moment, pull her in a little closer. Yeah. I mean, I think I've kind of made my statement of just clarifying that sooner.
Yeah. And what's up, Rudy? By the way, I just had Rudy in my group.
Nice.
So, dude, great job. You probably did this track too. Really nice work on that. I totally agree with Jenny, where I think that's the main thing, is that the perspective, like, who's this coming from? Is it the wise, the wise man thought, is it the grandpa? Like, who's actually passing this wisdom down will help with perspective. So we're all kind of on the same page. And then if that's the case, the hook, here's to the wild, or here's to the young hearts. I like that here's to thought, but then I'm like, I don't think, if it is going to be the passed down wisdom thought, I don't know if that's how you would hook it with here's to that.
Mhm.
That was my only thought. But I like Jenny said, like it's got some great elements. It feels modern. The track's cool. Like the melodies are fresh. Definitely has a commercial appeal to it, but
Mhm.
just a little bit more perspective and just really fleshing out how you're going to nail that hook.
Mhm.
And going along with the perspective thing, I forgot to mention they wanted to know they do lyric variations for each chorus. They want to know if you think that works for this song.
I see what you're saying. I'm looking forward now. Yeah.
For me, it's so hard to understand who is singing and who they are singing to,
Yes.
that changing any chorus is adding more confusion to it.
Agreed.
So I would make a better judgment if the first verse and chorus really nailed down who is singing and who you're specifically singing to.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if you're singing to the girl, I don't know if you're singing to the daddy, I don't know, and who you are. So it's just a little confusing.
Mhm.
And then this point about let's just slow down right now. Right now she's the little girl, but she's gonna fly. It was just I'm jumping forward and backwards, and so I think lyrically you're all around it, but you really have to kind of simplify it to make it
Mhm.
have more emotional impact.
Mhm. Yeah, point of view is like switching point of views, like third, first, second, can get
Yeah.
confusing so fast. Yeah.
Totally. All right. Next up, we have Good Grief by Travis Smith, Adam Carpenter, and Carrie Latham.
Good grief. Every sunset since we met just said a little different. Good grief. Everything we do, every second with you was a piece of heaven. Yeah, you had me steady falling all in. I never saw you leaving coming. Good grief. Girl, you really got me. For a minute I thought the bad news was gonna get the best of me. But I'm out here working now. It's not working out. Been hitting the gym, going out with friends. Hell, I'm even fishing again. So it's all good grief. It's all good grief. Yeah, it's all good. Good grief.
Cool. Nice job with the flip on the hook here.
Mhm.
I love, you could tell, I mean, right off the bat, well-written song. You guys know what you're doing. I know Carrie, and every time I hear a Carrie song, I know I'm going to get something cool.
Mhm.
And I think it's, again, well-written, super commercial. The good grief thing is tricky because it's like, I don't know if it's hitting for me as far as like, I just keep thinking Charlie Brown, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's for me, it's I don't know if it's, but I love where you're going with it. Like the end of the course, you do a great job of flipping it and making it pay
Mhm.
off.
Is it, Michael? Do you think it's because what country artist is going to sing about I'm going through grief?
I
Like
think
the
that's literally,
word
I think you
grief?
nailed it, Clay. That's the hard thing to talk about.
Mhm.
Grief is a tricky word, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with all that. I kind of like I guess the double entendre kind of where they do flip it. It's like it starts off as good grief, like the way you would almost say it naturally, and flip it to a good kind of grief. But I just don't know that it makes me feel anything. Right. So it's
That's
like
a great way to put it.
I wanna be really like pulled in, or whether it's a love or hate. A good piece of advice I've gotten before is like, whether you love or hate a song, the worst thing you can feel about it is indifferent, where you're just like, like, I'd rather there's so many songs I can't stand that I know are hits, that are hits, that are on pop radio, country radio, that's like, I get it. I get why they make it. You know, maybe I don't like it, maybe I love it. But I feel like in the chorus, hitting the gym, going out with friends, fishing again, these are not lines that move the bar to that.
Yeah, that's where
Right.
it was, I think, because I was trying to think, could Blake pull something off where it's tongue in cheek? Maybe he could
Mhm.
sing Good Grief, but those images of what he's doing now
Mhm.
aren't strong enough to make me go, oh yeah, like he's having
Yeah.
a ball, or
Yeah.
like it needs to be a little bit more dramatic in those
Mhm.
lines, I think. And
Mhm.
then I think possibly there might be an artist that could do it if that line really made me feel more.
Yeah.
That's great feedback. All right. Get the next
I mean,
song.
going to the gym, okay, he was probably doing that before.
Maybe.
It doesn't invoke like excitement or
Right.
grief, really, right? It's like,
all right. Next
Like
up.
there was that old country song, She Let Herself Go. And it was like, yeah, she's on a cruise to the Bahamas, and like
yeah.
her whole life is so much better
Mhm.
since she
Yeah.
got rid of this guy. So I think it
Yeah.
has to just be more over the top.
Yeah.
Great point. All right. This next song this was actually an older version of this was played last year on a Club SongTown, but it was submitted again after revisions. So curious to hear what you think. I think Clay, you heard this one for sure. So this is called La Soledad by Fernando Bellini and Spivey James.
Don't know why I can't stop thinking about you. Thought I could make it without you. I was wrong. I hope that time would lessen the pain of your leaving, but I can't find a good reason to go on. There's a pillow on the bed where you used to lay your head. All that's left is emptiness, and there's la soledad. La soledad, like a shadow, it follows wherever I go. I've never felt so alone. No estás aquí, mi corazón cries as it calls out your name in the dark. Please won't you come back and end la soledad.
All right. So this is fun. I very much like songs that are bilingual, but I also don't understand, what it's saying. I don't know what La Soledad means, or, the line in Spanish. I mean, I could probably figure it out, but I think this is definitely more likely to fit in, like, whether it's sync or the pop genre, whether it's Camila Cabello and somebody, collaboration where there's like this very like spicy, what was it, Havana, song. Let's reference Havana. Like that was a huge song that was like, I didn't have to understand the words to still sing along in some lines that, were in Spanish or whatever. I felt like it just had that like spicy kind of cool like thing about it, which I felt like this kind of teetered along that, but it just didn't quite capture that. And I think it really has to check a lot of boxes when you start to dabble into the multiple language territory. And so, I didn't dislike, I just don't know that it really moved the needle for me. This is one of the songs I'd like, I don't know where I'd go with this or what to do with this. But it was cool. It was very creative. It felt good. It felt like very kind of almost, I don't know, I guess not really dancey, but it felt almost like a spoiled love gone wrong kind of song. You know, thought I could make it without you. I was wrong. Hope that with time would lessen the pain. So, you know, I think it's got a good emotion foundation, but I couldn't really quite get there because, you know, I don't really know what the hook or the title even means.
Sometimes these songs will English explain it for you, like
Mhm.
La Soledad, and then the loneliness, because it means loneliness. So you would put that in the next line so that it becomes apparent.
Mhm.
And I think that would help for us that don't understand that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I felt it was more like a sync thing. I mean, the melody, it had a beautiful melody, Bellini.
Yeah, I totally agree with Clay. I was going to comment on the melody. Great melodies throughout. I can still sing it right now.
Mhm.
And I could actually hear it. If you put it to like an EDM track, it could
Yeah.
be cool, a DJ thing too, which might be a cool pitch. But definitely what Jenny said, like I wonder if lyrically, if it is bilingual, and how Clay was talking about, really kind of explaining it so no matter which language you speak, you definitely understand what the Spanish is if you know speak English. Think it would have to be like, because we will get asks for this kind of thing too, particularly for like certain shows like Siesta Key or like some other you name it. Sometimes the ads that want a little bit more of a Latin flair. So I think it's definitely has legs in that world. Production wise, if we were going to go sync with it, I think production could be just like maybe a level up from where it's at right now. It feels good, but I think it could have a little bit more of like a mix between the a little bit more modern instrumentation as well. Maybe it's like a little bit more like ear candy, 808s, that kind of thing where you're feeling like it's got this Latino, Latin vibe to it, but also has a freshness to the track.
Mhm.
Totally. We have a suggestion here. Dan says the second line in the chorus could be "The loneliness follows wherever I go." That could be really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of explain that.
Yeah, just something to reinforce the title at the top of the chorus.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have "Coming Back" by Nicole Thomas and Linda Staton.
Wall so thin, I heard it all. You and Mom arguing tonight. I can tell she's been crying and faking like things are fine. Heard the front door slamming shut. I'm trying to piece what's going on, like a shadow fading out the door. Don't you love her anymore? You got me staring out this window, and the panic's kicking in, wondering if I'm ever gonna see your face again. The Chevy's getting smaller as your footsteps on the gas. I don't think you're ever coming back.
Yeah, definitely like real. Yeah, this is real. Obviously, it feels like so unfortunately very relatable, I'm sure, and it comes from a real place, real emotion, and then just a really great job again with imagery. I can see the whole thing. It acts like a movie. I can see what's going on. I get a crystal clear picture. The way and I think you do a really good job of doing it in a conversational way too in the lyric. I think so. I definitely think you're onto something here. Chorus wise, I think honing in on the melody. It's almost like the beginning of the chorus feels like a pre-chorus to me.
I thought the same exact thing. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, that I think you could get there too. And then secondly, I wonder if there's a more like a bigger title you can get to than Coming Back. The way the verse works, the way I'm looking at it and reading it, and so in that picture, like I wonder if like it feels like a thought to me, like I don't think you're ever coming back. It feels like it could be a thought in the whole grand scheme of the song, but I wonder if it is the hook. Just food for thought.
Yeah, I agree. I think my biggest note and mental note was that the verse blended into the chorus. Like without a lyric sheet in front of us, I wouldn't have known that the chorus actually started. I think having that melodic contrast is so important, and something about it too kind of, and it might have been the vocal, which was a beautiful vocal. I did really like the melody. But something about it almost gave me like a Julie Andrews like breakdown here, and I don't know, it not the same context obviously, but even in that song where it's like she gets down to like I'm out of cigarettes and down to my last drag, and then boom, I'd sure hate to blast into it. It's like I think it needs that level up, that emphasis to kind of differentiate into the chorus and make it pop. And yeah, and I totally agree with I don't coming back. I don't know that that's the strongest option for the hook and overall theme of the song. Because there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot to unpack with what's going on and him leaving. And, I think you could probably dig a little bit deeper to kind of figure out what would encompass and capture that, just the whole theme and emotion of this song. But yeah, I think there's some tweaks that could really make this stand out even more.
I like the one comment. Oh, go ahead, Clay.
Part of the reason I felt like that "You Got Me Staring Out the Window" was not the first line of the chorus is because a chorus usually like hits harder at the top of it, not just melodically, but lyrically. It almost would have been better to me, like to start out the chorus with that Chevy's getting smaller as your boot steps on the gas. That's a stronger and a more contrasty image than the verse, because it just feels like at the top of the chorus, you're just developing, and we're still developing, and we're not quite to the chorus. So you might think of starting that chorus out stronger with a more visual image, like the Chevy's getting smaller as your boot steps on the gas, and then you get you don't have to say I'm watching it out the window. She's seeing it kind of. So
It's great feedback.
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
A lot of heart and soul in that.
Totally. Someone said that was a tearjerker. It definitely is. Next up, we have "Infatuated" by Kirsten Verhagen.
Does he
So this kind of reminds me of like almost what could be like an Olivia Rodrigo type song where it's like, it's very pop. It's got that very pop artist feeling. What's that? I can't even think of her big song that kind of sounds a little bit like the Paramore. That's like,
Good for
good
you.
for you. Yeah, it's kind of, I think with more like just all around energy and I think it would have to step up too lyrically. I think it's digestible and it's easy to understand, line to line, but I feel like right now, and maybe I'm wrong. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but like with pop, which it's not my primary like listening to genre, but artists like Olivia and, you name it, Miley or whatever, are so crazy good at just wearing their heart on their sleeve and being, I feel like vulnerability and authenticity is so high right now that it's like the more raw, the more real, the more honest, the better. So it's like if you can even get a little deeper into, those feelings and those emotions and, color up that chorus more than just like, I don't hate that because I'm so infatuated. That's a cool, like, that could be very catchy and very, hooky. And I think that's a good title. But then it's like, he doesn't even like me that way. And I feel stupid every day. Those two rhymes feel a little not as strong. Then so infatuated and I hate it. So I don't even know that I hate it. So really makes sense as the chorus closer. But, I think if pop is kind of maybe your direction or your lane, because it starts off very almost like rock and roll-ish. It grabs your attention, but it kind of almost takes like a little bit of a shift as we're going through the pre-chorus into the chorus. But yeah, like I think Karen said, like pop punk edge, very good description. But yeah, I'm just a dive deeper kind of lyric, especially in pop. And I think pop can sometimes get away without having to do that. But where we are right now, it's like, I'm so intrigued at how good these artists and these writers are getting at just like resonating and saying things that we all think and feel in a way that's like, oh, that's clever. That's so cool.
Yeah, just so you know, Kirsten's from Germany and her focus is pop and sync as well. So
Awesome.
I don't know, Michael, if you can speak to it as far as the sync thing.
Yeah, this is great as far as like, I feel like through the lens of sync, it has a place, not like there, it's not a big pitch because it's not a wide pitch, I should say, just because of the nature of the hook, infatuated. It's got to fit. Like it has to be a very specific scene that this would fit, if that makes sense, right? It's not going to be like like for advertisements, not going to be for promos. Most likely it would land itself in an in-show situation, but it'd have to also be, if it's going to be in-show, and what I mean by in-show is actually in the TV show or in the movie, in a scene, it would have to like really fit that scene. Sonically, some really good elements. I love like the pop punk element of it. I love that it feels now and current with the Olivia Rodrigo stuff. And I think the level of production could probably come up a bit because I just know how competitive it really is, how great the things are sounding that are getting pitched every day. So, but I love the way Jenny put, like, if we're going to go in this direction with pop and pop punk, then it's just got to literally feel like you're just screaming at your diary and you're not holding back anything. Like you can say anything literally, but it's got, we want to feel it.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. Next up, we have Why by Belden Birch.
Till death do us part, we said, and that's what happened. not too much matters to me now. I keep your memories in my heart where I can grab them. It's supposed to help me carry on somehow. It doesn't help when well-meaning friends say you're in a better place. It doesn't help that medicine says we're gonna find a cure someday. They say the sun comes up tomorrow, might be a clear blue sky. I know the sun comes up tomorrow. My question is why?
Man, another heartbreaker of a song. Yeah, this is tough. This is a tough one, dude. It's like definitely I love the honesty. And I love just how I think you do a really nice job melodically. Just had a nice flow in the verse. It just kept me into the storyline of this thing. Let's see, and I just love that there's just a realness to the idea of like it doesn't help when well-meaning friends say you're in a better place.
Mhm.
And I think it hit me a little extra hard because a good friend of mine just lost her husband, so I know she's in this place too. So it's like I'm looking at it through that lens, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure all this stuff is resonating. So I think, and I do love really the point of this, the whole question. My question is why. Someone wrote in the chat is a gut punch, and I totally felt that too because I was almost like getting like why. The question is why did this happen, and also like why does the sun even come up tomorrow? I don't even care. Which kind of gave me a double punch on that hook. I think the only as a songwriter, as a publisher, when I put the publisher hat on, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, who am I going to pitch this to? It feels so personal. And so that I feel like from that perspective, it's like the artist would probably want to be a part of this song if they were going through that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think, it's a heavy song, which is good. It's not a bad thing. We need songs that talk about all subject matter, good and bad and light and heavy. But, I think, it's a very specific, personal, kind of testimonial subject matter that, if like he said, wearing our publisher hats, it can be a beautiful piece, but, I don't know that like he nailed it, with artists, they're like, if they're going to talk about something this specific and near and dear to their heart, they almost are always going to want to be a part of that and write it themselves. So pitching something so specific is going to be a very, very, very narrow margin. But again, I think it's a very beautiful and sentimental piece, but just not a lot. It's not a wide cast, if that makes sense. Anybody else got anything?
Clay, anything to add?
No,
All right.
Cool.
Great job.
he left us speechless.
Yeah.
Do we want to do?
It's like the question. My question is why. I mean, he's just questioning
Everything.
what is everything about. Why are we? It's like questioning existence,
Yeah.
which is pretty heavy.
It is. It's so good though. Do we want to do one more and then kind of open up the chat for some Q&A?
Sure.
Cool.
All right. So last song of the night, we got Where We Left Off by Steve Oliver.
Long drives, late nights, nothing better than your hand in mine. In the cab of my old green Ford, Sometimes we drive till the sun came up, felt like a real love. Couldn't ask for anything more. Till you looked at me and turned down the radio. And said you're sorry you met someone and it was time for you to go. Now my empty passenger seat keeps saying you're missing me, and that you're holding on to the memories even though you're long gone. Even after a year I still wish you were here with me, so we could find a way to get back into the pickup where we left off. We left off.
Yeah. So I really like where the chorus ended, because it kind of tied it back into that very first, couple lines of in the cab of the old green Ford, so it's like pick up and then kind of a play on words, so we can find a way back to get into the pickup where we left off. It's a good full circle moment. My issue with this is that it felt very out of the blue. Long drives, late nights, nothing better, your hand in mine. It's like happy, hunky-dory kind of love story till the sun came up. Felt just like real love. Couldn't ask for anything more. It's all positive. No indication that trouble's around the corner. And then till you looked at me and turned down that radio, still felt positive. And then you said you're sorry you met someone and it was time for you to go. That just kind of took me out of the moment. And then I kind of felt a little bit of a jolt, like, okay, where is this going? And so I just think there's got to be something, I think, a better transition that sets that up, because it just felt very abrupt. And I feel like too, the phrasing, I don't know that the phrasing is as fresh and realistic as it could be. I don't know that if I'm thinking for Morgan Wallen, for instance, like he's probably not going to say a line that's like, and you said you're sorry and you met someone and it was time for you to go. He's going to be like, and girl, you left me in the drive with just the dust and a goodbye, or whatever, something I just made up on the fly. But I think making sure.
You're a songwriter, Jenny?
I don't know, maybe.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I just think that, coloring up the language and imagery and all of that can really just show it better than tell sometimes, versus then you said, and then I said, and then, just a better picturesque image. But I think in general, just transitioning that dramatic turn of events a little bit better, and then kind of getting a little bit more commercial with some of your phrasing and more fresh and conversational, I guess. Yeah.
That's
Karen
weird.
says, I want to write with Jenny.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jenny just scored her first co-write.
Yes.
I agree, but Michael, before you jump in, I agree with Jenny. The pre-chorus started losing me just because it sounded like a little explainy,
Yeah.
till you looked at me and turned the radio and then said you're sorry that you met someone and it was time for you to go. Like it just, rather than showing me, you just explained it to me. And I think that you lose listeners. It starts sounding songwritery instead of conversational when you're doing that much explaining.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to put it. And then just because I agree with it, what everyone said on this one so far. And just to bring up the positive aspect, where you could take this positive, because like Jenny said, that the end of that hook, pick up where we left off, could totally be like, hey, we had this thing back in the day, back in high school or the summer thing or whatever, and I haven't seen you in a while since college, and I can't wait to find a way to get back into that pickup where we left off. And then it's almost like one of those, Springsteen, Eric Church Springsteen, where it's got a little bit of a nostalgia vibe, but it also feels like positive in a way. It could ride that line too.
Yeah.
or it's a relationship that's just gone a little stale, and let's, get back in that pickup truck and pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
Bring the old memory, remember why we got together in the first place, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
I love your voice, Steve, if that's you singing in that verse. And the pre-chorus melody against what you were doing with the track was really cool rhythmically. So a lot of good stuff there.
Awesome. We're getting some questions in here with the last couple minutes. MJ wants to know, since we've heard so many different production levels tonight, should sync have a more polished sound in comparison to an artist cut, which would most likely be reproduced to fit the artist?
Should sync have more polished sound in comparison to an artist cut?
An artist pitch, I guess.
Oh, got you. Yeah. So I think that's basically like what we're pitching for sync is as close to a master as you can get. It sounds like fully, especially if we're pitching ad stuff, and if we're pitching things for like trailers. I mean, they sound like epic, big. Like the smalls are the lows are really low, and the big sections are huge, and the production value is phenomenal. So yeah, I do think, and eventually if an artist pitch can be a demo, and I don't know if Jenny agrees with this, but lately we've been noticing a lot more like pitch meetings, a lot more companies just saying, hey, send me like an acoustic vocal. All I want to hear is like, it's almost like, stripped down the way when it used to be like 10 years ago.
I think that kind of answers like Brian's question too, with like, are we good with just simple guitar vocals, or, would we rather see a fully blown out like demo? And I think it just depends, if it's a really rough, scratchy work tape, obviously we're going to want a cleaner version, a guitar vocal. And it depends too on the artist. I think certain artists, like I know Keith Urban and Kenny Chesney, sometimes, just depends on who it is. Sometimes really, really like those raw, guitar vocals or work tapes as opposed to fully blown demos. Sometimes, not always, but and I think it just depends on the song. If the song speaks for itself and it captures the emotion and the message just with the guitar vocal, then yeah. But I don't think we would never say don't ever demo it. It doesn't hurt to have multiple versions either. But yeah, I think it's just case by case generally.
And by the same token, if you're going to do a guitar vocal, Brian, I would make sure the vocal and the guitar are really good quality. They'd feel good. Like, you don't want to have a bad singer and then make people listen through a bad vocal to try to see if there's a good song there. So, bad is kind of opinion sometimes, but it needs to showcase the song well, and professionally.
Yep. Totally.
Another question, or should we do one more question? We have 1 minute.
Yeah, we can do one more, and then I gotta scream.
All right. Paul says, what is the most common shortfall you see and hear in songs submitted to you?
Most common shortfall that we see in songs submitted to us, I guess, just in general or like just everyone
in general.
Man, I think it just that's a hard just one shoe fits all kind of answer. I think it could be a lot of things. I think being a student but not chasing radio is important. So like, you don't know what you're competing with if you're not tuned into the market and the radio, right? So it's like if you're not familiar with what is current and what's cutting it and what's making these slots on radio, whether it's Luke Combs or Morgan or Meg Maroney, then you kind of don't really know where the bar and where the needle is. And it doesn't mean to chase and try to sound exactly like that, but I think for me, probably just lyrics lyrics usually are a big one. And someone once said, like, when this is all subjective, of course, but you can have a hit song with an okay lyric or even a bad lyric, but a great melody, because a great melody sticks. It's memorable. But yeah, you can't have, again, this is subjective. You can't have a hit song with a bad melody and a great lyric, because it's like, to me, it's a perfect combination. It's like the melody has to capture me right away, and then once the lyric starts, it really has to stand up within those first 10 to 15 seconds. So I think it can be everything from just the melody not being captivating enough, not memorable enough, not the lyric not being enticing or compelling or relatable or even descriptive. You know, I always reference like Lee Bryce's "Are you one of those girls that pulls off the Bud Light label, just might run a pool table, roll your eyes if I call you an angel?" Like, that lyric is so colorful. It puts you in that dive bar scene where you're seeing this visual. So I think shortfall in a nutshell, just lyrics just not being colorful enough or contemporary or just different enough that really draw me in and give it that factor. Because everybody on Music Row at any given moment, any given day, are writing songs for artists and for radio. And you know, if you're not you know, thinking of it like that, you have to know your competition and you got to be better.
It's a great point. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I think because everything that Jenny says is 100% agree with that. For me, it's also like the hook and the idea. Like like Jenny said, if you're gonna compete with the best of the best, you also have to bring to the table an idea that like is just so cool or different, or you've done something with it that we've never heard before that stands out from the pack. So I think that's the biggest thing, that maybe the biggest shortfall for me is just, you know, hearing hooks that aren't fresh or something different or something unique in some way that just it could be saying that, you know, there's only so many songs we can write, but there's ways you can say it in a totally fresh way that we've never heard. And that's what I'm always looking for.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
We're going to make Michael stay for 2 more minutes.
I'm here. No, please. I'll stay.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Thank
And I
you,
will see
Jenny.
you again, hopefully. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Hey, guys, if you're not Songtown members, we do these types of events inside of Songtown. We also have monthly pro feedback by hit writers that you can get each month as a member. The big reason I like doing this is try to remember, even if your song did not get critiqued, the big benefit is that you hear how publishers and writers approach the songs, what their mindset is. Like Michael just said, you know, he needs a fresh idea that he hasn't heard before. Well, we just did a class inside of Songtown where writers submitted song starts to artists who are recording that have record deals. And to a T, they always chose, every time we've done this class, they've chosen ideas that they haven't heard before, that were fresh. So that is the best approach if you want to get cuts. And we have a
a special
future
guest.
superstar on the cam.
Sorry, guys.
She must take after your wife because she's really cute.
This is Easton. She must have found her way out of bed somehow.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go, man.
But no, we're fine. Easton, you want to say hi to the Songtown crew? Hi.
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 Yes, the future songwriter. Right here.
Oh yeah.
No. I'll be right back though if we want to do more questions. I have time.
No, that's all right. We're wrapping it up. So thank you, Michael, for your wisdom.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next time.
I want to answer one question. Bello's saying, what class is that? It's a class we do once a year. It just happened, but we have plenty of classes in Songtown, so there'll be more stuff coming up that you can join in. Cool.
All right.
Well,
We'll see you
We'll
next
see y'all
time.
next time.
Bye.